and welcome to the A's and B's of Horror. I'm your host, Jim, and with me as always is...
Mark.
Yes.
Was that an acceptable one for you then?
That was acceptable. I appreciate that. Thank you for putting in the effort.
I'll be here all week, folks.
That's because you're not going to be able to go anywhere else.
So, Jim, would you like to tell our global listeners what's happening in our area?
Yes, so in case you weren't aware, Mark and I both live in Florida, and there is currently a storm that is slated to hit a hurricane. What is it, Cat 3 now? There's a Category 3 hurricane.
Yeah, but I think it's going to turn into a Cat 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's currently a Category 3. They're expecting it to turn into a Category 4. It's supposed to make landfall somewhere near Tampa, which is just north of where Mark lives, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Kind of east. But
East.
but I'm sure it's great listening.
So,
yeah, I think it's Sarasota, which is south of Tampa, is where
gotcha.
it's scheduled to hit.
So
Good
and
luck,
then
Mark.
I live on the other coast,
Mm-hmm.
so we will be getting some tropical storm force stuff over here.
Right.
So, Mark.
So this may be our final podcast.
Well, it might be your final podcast.
Well, if the house gets blown down, we're all going to live at your house. So.
My tiny house, you're all going to come live. Okay, no problem. I'll start making room. Ray, I have to tell Ray all of his costumes have to go. Everything.
You'll be thrown out then, I think.
I know.
So what do we have today, Jim?
Well, Sarah Miley Cooper gave us a suggestion. She wanted to hear our lists, not necessarily ones that we found. So, in keeping with the A's and B's of horror theme, I, the A, came up with a list, and Mark, the B, came up with a list.
The A's and B's, there's two people involved.
That's right, A's and B's.
So I'm sure your list is horror movies where there's a hurricane involved.
Incorrect, sir.
How many could you name? I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm like, I can only think of two.
Well, you got Crawl.
Yeah, that was one of them.
The Day After Tomorrow has a hurricane in it because it's all the weather from.
That's not a horror movie.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's more just action sci-fi. Actually, I don't. Oh, Dolls. Weren't they having a hurricane, or was it just a bad rainstorm?
I think it was just a storm.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the only one I can think of. Then is Crawl.
The only other one that and in fact, I watched it during Irma because that's the sort of person I am. Whenever that rolled around a few years ago, it's a movie called Burning Bright.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
About a woman and her autistic brother who are basically locked in a house because there's a hurricane outside with a tiger on the loose.
Interesting.
In the house. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting premise. So, Mark, why don't we start with you since you're number 2? Tell us what you're going to unload on us today.
My number 2 unload is I decided to do my top 10 extreme, or you could say disturbing or shocking, horror movies. What's wrong there? What's wrong there, Jim?
We've had a discussion about a particular movie, and I want to see if it shows up on your list.
We will see.
Indeed, we will.
And what is your list?
My list is just simply 10 horror movies that mean something to me, and I'm going to tell you why they mean something to me.
And I look forward to pulling them apart. All right. Did you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yes, you please grace us with your list first. Sir.
Okay.
Then we can have fun with mine.
And oh God, I don't know where my bell went. Oh, there it is. Hang on. I need my bell. Jim, you will get a for everyone that you've watched.
Oh, fantastic!
It's probably going to be pretty quiet.
It is going to be given my my exposure to extreme horror. It's probably going to be a pretty quiet list.
And I'll say this. Okay, so I'll ask you first of all, what do you consider the most extreme horror movie that you've seen? Now, extreme means different things to different people, right?
Yeah.
To me,
and we already know it doesn't mean the same to us.
Let's say, like I said, extreme or disturbing, or something that's kind of might be gross, or
I mean, obviously the Human Centipede would be a bit extreme, but if knowing you, the most extreme stuff I've ever seen is probably The Faces of Death. Right, I did see those back in the 80s.
Refuse to watch.
Yep.
Because and this will come up probably in discussions about extreme horror movies. One thing I cannot do is real animal stuff.
Agreed.
And like horror movies do get a bad rap. Some of these more extreme ones for it. But people tend to forget. Yeah, there's also animal cruelty in mainstream Hollywood movies, and has been for lots and lots of years. So, yeah.
Indeed.
The other thing that I would say is, with disturbing, whatever we want to call them, I don't really get disturbed by movies because they're just movies, and they're just actors, etc. If I want to be disturbed, I'll watch various documentaries or watch the news or read history if I really want to get disturbed.
I mean, that's fair because we as a society do some of the worst things to ourselves.
Well, yeah, we're horrible.
We are.
All right, so my number 10, and I do have some honorable mentions too, and I'm sure I've forgotten some, but is actually the newest one that I watched, which was The Sadness, the South Korean movie, which was on Netflix, Amazon, just recently released. Shudder. It was on Shudder.
Okay.
So The Sadness is, I may have mentioned it before in what we've watched. It's very much a crossed graphic novel movie. So it's basically like the crazy, kind of like smart zombies, who kind of take pleasure in hurting other people and doing various things to people's eyeballs, or eye socket, I should say.
Okay. You have a thing for eye horror, I've noticed.
Well, there's just a lot of it about.
No, there's really not. It just all gravitates towards you, sir.
See, you haven't watched enough Fulci movies.
No, I can't say that I have or plan to.
So, have you seen the Sadness?
I have not.
Okay, Nobel for you.
Nobel.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Ha ha ha. I see what you did there.
Yeah, so The Sadness, I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but for a modern movie, it's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
And I will say, there is way more extreme stuff that's on my list. You've got like August Underground and Vomit Doll trilogy and things like that, but they tend to be really low budget, and as I've got older, I've just got no interest in watching kind of just crap that's just extreme to trying to be extreme. That's low budget crap.
Yeah, everybody's trying to recreate Cannibal Holocaust.
Well, sort of, not really, but yeah. Some of those are just like purely for shop purposes, and that's if people enjoy them, it's fine. I just know if I sat down and started watching, I'd be just like, oh, crap.
Yep.
Okay, so that is my number 10. Jim, what is your number 10?
Oh, no, we're going to do one list at a time.
Oh,
sir.
Okay. We're not going to go back and forth?
No. I think we need to we need to rid ourselves of your list first.
Okay, number 9 is Lars von Trier's Shocker, starring Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsborough, and it is Antichrist. Jim, thoughts?
Never seen it.
Antichrist is very okay. So it's Lars von Trier, so it's kind of already.
Is that the one with the lady like in front of a tree on the cover?
Right.
Okay, so I see. I do know the cover art. I just have not watched the movie, and that's strange because I love Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah, and he's great in it. There's lots of themes and different ways of looking at this movie, and who's really good and bad, and is a gender just inherently evil, but there is some really shocking parts to it.
Yeah.
Like graphic genital mutilation.
Oh my.
But it's wonderfully shot. If you like Willem Dafoe, say give it a go.
I might do that one night when I have nothing else to watch.
Right. Yeah, I do recommend it. I think it's very good. Okay. Next up, number 8 on my list, part of the new wave of extreme French cinema. It's L'Intérieur, aka Inside. Jim?
You might as well just keep going.
Okay, so Inside is like a home invasion slasher type flick, where a pregnant woman is stalked in her house by a mysterious stranger, but it is graphic and bloody. You might like this one too. You like slashers, right?
I do.
It is excellent. The acting is great all around. I knock a point or two off it because there's a section where some cops show up, and they're kind of goofy cops. Like, that takes the tone down a little bit for me. But otherwise, it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Okay, number 7 is our friend Jeff. I suggested that he watch this because I like the torture. Literally, this is the Japanese banned in the UK. Shocker, Grotesque. Jim, thoughts on Grotesque?
I got nothing.
Okay, so basically, this is a very nihilistic, mean-spirited movie where this person basically kidnaps a boyfriend and girlfriend and just tortures them graphically, all on screen.
Okay.
The effects work is amazing in it.
See, now that might be something I could appreciate, so I might check that out. You're gonna have to send me that name.
Yeah, Grotesque.
You're gonna have to send it to me because I'll forget it in 5 minutes.
Okay. But it is very mean spirited. There's no real plot to speak of. I mean, there's a little bit in there about the person's motivations, and there's a very interesting climax towards the end where somebody has to do something, and yeah, it's not very pleasant to watch, which is why it's grotesque. That is my number 7. Okay. So to switch things up a little bit, my number 6 is The Treatment. Jim?
Treatment. No, I'm thinking of A Cure for Wellness, not The Treatment. I've not seen The Treatment.
Okay, so not a lot of people have seen this, and I just happened to come across it on Amazon today, just scrolling through, and it's basically a cop, a whodunit, sort of a whodunit, where a cop. I'm sorry, it's a Belgian film, first of all, based on an Irish author. I also got the book too. The book's really good. Where a cop who's kind of damaged because we see at the start of the movie when he was younger, his brother was taken by a pedophile, as far as we know, and he's kind of lived with that all his life. But the pedophile lives close to the guy, and he sometimes comes around and taunts him.
This sounds so familiar.
But really, the story is that sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So this cop is investigating a case of a family, a mom and a dad and a kid, who were basically held in their house, not fed, for like 3 or 4 days. When the cops find them, the kid is gone, and it's like a 9-year-old.
Okay.
And then it kind of goes from there, but it's very disturbing as far as the subject matter, because it's like pedophilia. It's not terribly graphic, but there is some sequences where it's just like, oh, that's gross, man. Oddly enough, on Amazon, it's rated PG-13, and it is not a PG-13 movie. I think the person who rated that did not watch it, because you would not rate that a PG-13. Anyway, the author is Mo Hader. I think she passed away, and she did a series of novels starring the same cop. But it's well worth. I think it's still on Amazon. It's well worth.
On IMDb, and none of the actors look familiar. But you know what?
Well, they're all Belgian.
No, but I mean, the story sounds so familiar. Like I've heard at least that setup for a story. But you know what? I think I am getting it mixed up with a Tana French book. She wrote a series of books, and in one of the books, the male lead, the detective, was the victim of a crime when he was younger, and he left so that he could reinvent himself, so nobody would know who he was, and then came back.
Yep, not the same one.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm conflating the two.
Anyway, if you like that, I would, again, even though it's a top 10 extreme list, I think there's movies on here which I mean, I cannot predict what you'll like because it's going to be a 1 out of 10 most of the time. But really, even look up the synopsis and see if it interests you.
Yeah, I will. I will read that.
Okay, where are we? So that was number 6, and that one's a little bit different again because it doesn't really have the graphic violence or anything like that on screen, but it is disturbing. Number 5, you may have heard of this one, Jim. So this one came along a number of years ago, and everybody lost their frigging mind over it. It's a foreign movie. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I believe you're going to be talking about a Serbian film.
I am talking about a Serbian film.
Yeah,
What do you?
I have not to this day seen it, but you and I have had this discussion before.
Yeah, so a Serbian film to me, again, I look at it through the lens of it's just a fucking movie. It's not real.
Right.
Jesus Christ. And then people going, oh, but you know what happens to the baby? Well, so what? You watch movies where people are killed. Does that make you enjoy people in real life getting killed? Like, fiction and reality. Learn to know the difference.
Well, that is true.
But this one really does push the envelope, right? And it sets out, to do what it was made to do, get people talking. At the end of the day, though, it's again very well shot, very well acted. It is brutal, but it does have one of the best downer endings you'll ever see. So like The Mist.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of downer endings.
So this one is probably worse. It is worse, if you can imagine.
Yeah, if it's anything like what you told me about this movie, I probably will not enjoy this movie.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, which is fair enough. All right. Number 4. Last week, Jim, I quizzed you around what a Cat 3 movie is.
You did.
Do you remember what a Cat 3 movie is?
I do not.
I'm glad you're learning through these podcasts. Cat 3 movie is a Hong Kong film classification like the X rating. So a category 3 would be the equivalent of an American X rating.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of them. I've only seen a handful, but the one that stands out for me is the Anthony Wong vehicle, The Untold Story, which is apparently based on a true story. Now, this is a real grimy, loathsome. Anthony Wong is the sort of guy you just absolutely fucking hate, and he's wonderful in it. In fact, I think he won like a Hong Kong version of a Best Actor Oscar for this, oddly enough. But yeah, this one is extremely brutal. You've got rapes, you've got, well, I won't say some of this stuff because it's spoilers. But yeah, it is pretty out there.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, number 3. What do our top 3? Human Centipede 2.
I saw parts of the first one. I've never seen the entire movie, and I have not seen any of the sequels.
So where part 1, okay, it's all about the concept, right? But
right.
It really held back on a lot of what could have been a lot more gruesome and graphic. It's very tame, in fact, compared to its reputation. And again, it's more about the thought of people getting their mouths onto people's asses than what's actually in the movie.
Right.
Now, Human Centipede 2 is up there. Obviously, it's number 3 on my list. It is fucking brutal, man. And it is amazing. I mean, they're shot in black. Well, it's not shot in black and white, but it's a black and white movie, which really adds some atmosphere to it too. It's wonderfully well shot. Lawrence Harvey plays the main guy, and I met him. He was the first person I met at Spooky. And he is fantastic. He doesn't speak a word in it, which is amazing. And this is a real meta movie because at the start, he works in like a parking lot and he's watching the Human Centipede on his laptop. Okay. And he gets his idea to do what he's going to do from the movie because he's like, I like this movie. Let me see if I can do it too. So he goes around the process of forming a 12-person centipede. But he's just some loser guy. So he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So, in the movie, in the first movie, the doctor, it's a doctor and he's knocking them out with anesthesia and this sort of thing. Well, he just uses a crowbar and goes around and bonks everybody in the head. The first guy that he's like, okay, well, I have to cut, the buttocks so that I can sew somebody on. The guy bleeds to death. He's like going mad and stuff. Because, again, this is supposed to be real life compared to the first one, which is a movie.
Ah, okay.
Also in this, he sets up where an actress from the first movie that he basically pretends that he's taking her to see Quentin Tarantino because he called her agent and said, hey, is all off screen. Quentin Tarantino would love to interview you or audition you for a role. So he's got one of the actresses from the first movie playing herself. It's fantastic. I love it.
Okay.
Okay, number 2. The pinnacle of Italian cannibal movies, Cannibal Holocaust. We have talked about Cannibal Holocaust.
We have, and I've still never seen it.
Yeah. And again, whenever we talk about animal cruelty, the only way that I watch it is the edited version, which some people will be like, oh, you should watch the full. No, I don't really want to watch that. So you watch whatever you want.
Right.
All right. Number 1. Can you guess what my number 1 is? Jim?
I feel like there's a movie about sisters that you really liked, but I didn't know if it'd fall into this category.
Sisters.
Yeah, it's a foreign film. I can't remember the name of it.
A Tale of Two Sisters?
Maybe.
Is it South Korean?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I did not like that movie. I couldn't get into it. I watched it twice, in fact, and I couldn't get into it for whatever reason.
Okay,
What is my number 1 extreme horror movie, Jim?
I have no idea.
It's my favorite horror movie, Jim.
Oh, we've had this conversation. It's French, right?
Oui.
Oh, crap. It escapes me, Mark. I'm sorry.
Apology accepted. You should do that more often, Jim. Anyway, Martyrs.
Hey, Mark. Fuck you, buddy.
So it is the French classic of my favorite horror movie, Martyrs.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Martyrs because I want you to watch it, and it is. You should never read anything about it.
I'm just gonna watch the American remake when it inevitably comes out.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably much better.
Yeah.
All right. So I have some honorable mentions, which I will just zoom through.
Sure.
Right. So whenever we're looking at, and I was just trying to write them down and just make a list of just extreme movies in general and trying to rank them. So and I hate kind of ranking movies because some of these may have actually fallen into the top 10, but whatever. Okay, so we have the return of Italian splatter gore, a movie by the production company Necrostorm. It is the modern Italian classic of Adam Chaplin. Jim?
Nothing about
it. So Adam Chaplin is like Fist of the North Star, like some manga anime type stuff mixed with have you ever watched like Toxic Avenger or any like trauma movies?
Of course.
So it's kind of like Fist of the North Star mixed or set in Traumaville. It's highly stylized, brutal violence, and it is fantastic.
Now that I might be able to get into.
Mm-hmm. And the guy is very good looking and he's very muscular, Jim.
Oh, is that all you think it takes?
And he has his top off a lot.
Oh boy!
And he has long hair. I don't know if that's the thing. His knuckles have very little hair. So, are you still there, Jim?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm waiting for you to go.
Yeah, you're looking it up. I can tell.
No.
Okay. Next one is the 1976 exploitation, quote unquote classic, Island of Death.
Nope, no idea.
This movie sets out to offend absolutely everyone. It's set in like a Greek island, and it just like, especially for 1976. Well, I'll tell you a little bit of a spoiler here, Jim. I know you'll probably be looking this one up too. In the first 15 minutes, our main antagonist has relations with a goat.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it's bad. That's more of a sheep. Yeah, but this one really does set out to offend everyone. There's so much going on in it. Is it a great movie? No, but I mean, I could take it for what it is. It's just kind of out there, exploitation, interesting movie from the 70s. Okay, we can also talk about kind of like the Japanese guinea pig movies, like Mermaid in a manhole, down a manhole. Flesh of Flower and Blood. There's like a number of them. So yeah, I believe it was Charlie Sheen in the 80s. Was at a party and he saw one of the guinea pig movies and he called the FBI because he thought it was a snuff movie.
Do you want to explain to me what a guinea pig film is?
Well, that's just the name of the series, and basically what they are is just kind of people being tortured or body horror. 80s Japanese,
like a snuff film type thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess.
I mean, in theory,
I suppose so. Well, I mean, one does star a mermaid, so not so much. But so some of the other ones, yeah, I mean, they were definitely set up to do that, and kind of grotesque is like a modern day version of some of them. But there was actually American guinea pig movies. So they started in the 2000s, I think, but I haven't seen any of those. Okay. Whenever we're talking about the treatment, we're talking about kind of psychological horror or extremism. In a Glass Cage would fall into that category as well, which is a German movie about a boy who finds a man who is in an iron lung, and it just so happens that guy was a Nazi, and they have history, and it's very interesting.
So it's sort of like apt people, except the Nazis in an iron lung.
Right, and yeah, and the kid is more control.
Right.
Because an app pupil, it kind of goes back and forwards, right?
Yeah.
Imprint, which you may have seen. Did you ever watch the Masters of Horror series?
No, I did not.
There's been no bell ringing for you yet.
I know, I'm bell-less.
So Imprint is Takeshi Miike's segment. In typical Miike style, it is really screwed up. So
Okay.
you should that's an easy one for you to find. You should look it up and see what you think.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, the Masters of Horror, like the first series of those, didn't that have like grave dancers in it? And what was the other movie?
No. So these aren't
or something, right?
right. So these aren't movies. This was a TV series.
Right. But it's like it's like episodes. Like I know the
Right. So John Carpenter directed a couple, and
yeah,
Tobe Hooper and Dario Argento. So they all had like individual, but the episodes are like 40 minutes long.
Yeah. So I've seen some of them off and on, but I did not follow them. So even if I had seen it, I wouldn't remember.
Right. But look up Imprint if you're interested. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
Michael
I do have an interest in seeing that, but I just have never gotten around to it.
Right, Michael Rooker's, I think, first starring role, and he's fantastic in it. Another grimy, kind of like maniac, makes you want to take a shower after. Very, very good though. Okay. We haven't really touched upon the subgenre of rape revenge movies, so I'll throw in the remake of I Spit on Your Grave, which
I've seen the original. I've not seen the remake.
Oh. You got half a bell. Actually, yeah, the remake is excellent. I thought it was very, very good. And one just as a wild card, the Tippi Hedren Melanie Griffith vehicle, Roar. Have you heard of this one?
No.
Look up
what
Roar.
An cast.
So it was billed as the most dangerous movie ever made, for good reason. So basically, I think it was Tippi Hedren's husband who was the director. It's really about them with a bunch of lions in their home.
Oh.
But the lions actually attack most of the cast at one point or the other. I think Melanie Griffith, I think she was almost scalped or something. She got like 50 stitches in her head.
Wow.
and she nearly lost an eye. Yeah, but the entire cast and crew, like the director, was attacked multiple times.
What the hell?
Yeah, even just check out, Google the trailer. It's interesting.
She got 50 stitches to her face, and they thought she would lose an eye.
Yep.
Most of the lion attacks were real and usually resulted in actual injury.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a Jan de Bont movie. He was the cinematographer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I like his visual style usually.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I had not heard of that movie. That'll be interesting to look up.
Right. Okay, that is my list of my honorable mentions.
So before I get on my list, because mine's more of a feel-good type list, it's 10 horror movies that.
I like those movies. They're feel-good movies to me.
Are you telling me that after you watch The Human Centipede, you feel happy in your soul?
Yes. Well, The Human Centipede 2, yeah, because it's a dark, and it's full of dark humor. Yeah.
And you say I have no heart.
Well, yeah. I mean, both things can be true at the same time, you know.
So let's talk about some of the newer stuff. I just saw a trailer for M. Night Shyamalan's new movie. Have you seen it?
No.
It's called A Knock at the Cabin.
Okay.
It's based on a book by Paul Tremblay called The Cabin at the End of the World.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of this. Have I seen a trailer? If I have, I don't remember it.
I've watched the trailer, and I'm currently listening to the audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
So what I will say is that I appreciate in the audiobook the way he treats, because it's a homosexual couple and their adopted daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a home invasion type thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden these four strangers show up and they tell them, you have to sacrifice somebody in your family in order for the world not to end.
High concept movie, man.
Right. So I
But that's kind of like those. I mean, those moral dilemma, examples.
and that's all it is. Like there's not any real action except for a few fight scenes. So I am not confident that this is going to be an enjoyable movie experience. I
Well,
mean, I love Jonathan Groff. I think he's a fantastic actor, but
I,
it's
I
going to be such a slow burn that it's going to be really hard for it to be successful, I think, unless they've completely changed the story.
well, that's kind of like that movie from years ago with James Marsden, and I think The Box, right? Where it's
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
you get your wish, but then somebody dies,
right.
which I never watched, but it's the monkey's paw sort of thing. But this one's
And
more,
it
yeah, this one's more like a moral thing. If you have to push somebody in front of a train to save everybody's life in the train, would you do it?
right. And
Yes.
I don't know. There's so much talking and so little actually happening that it just gets like the action sequences are really, really good, but then it just gets to droning,
Right.
and I don't know. I'm having trouble with this, and I've heard such great things about this book, and maybe it's because I'm desensitized to this kind of stuff,
Right.
but I'm just not connecting with it. So I don't think I'm gonna like that movie.
Huh. Interesting. And when's that coming out?
I'd have to look it up. We'll move on to my list. My list is simple. It's 10 horror movies that mean something to me.
And I will ding the bell if I've seen it. How about that?
Okay. So these are in no particular order. I'm just going to start with number 10, work my way up, but that doesn't necessarily mean they fall where they are on this list. So number 10, the first movie I picked was The Entity with Barbara Hershey. Fantastic. And so for anybody that doesn't know, this movie follows I can't remember if she was a teacher or what she did. Follows a woman in Texas, I believe, that is being attacked both physically and sexually by an invisible entity. It's supposedly based on true events, and there's two reasons why I love this movie. One, it's one of my mother's favorite movies, so we watched it every time it came on, so it was something we did together. And two, I used to do Barbara Hershey's dry cleaning.
So hang on, Jim. So how old were you whenever you and your mom started watching
11, 12 years old.
So your mom sat down with you and said, "Hey, little Jimbo, come over here a second. Sit down. Grab some popcorn." Okay, Mom. What are you watching? Oh, this woman is going to get brutally raped throughout this movie. You're going to love it.
No, I was young enough that I didn't understand a lot of the invisible penetration stuff. I didn't fully comprehend that she was being sexually assaulted until I was an adult.
Until you were an adult.
Yeah,
So when you were
because
17, you had no idea.
well, right, because so there's a big stretch of my life where I did not see this movie. So when I did finally see it as an adult, it was like I was watching it with fresh eyes.
Did you think the ghost was pushing her or something when she was naked?
Honestly, I didn't know. I just thought, okay, this is going to be such a me answer, but like the scene where it rips her blouse open and it's touching her breasts and all that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know how they did that. That's really cool.
Right. Well, probably
So,
even back then you were like, breasts, yeah, well, the effects are good.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought.
I actually, yeah, so quote unquote based on a story.
Right.
I actually, back in the day, I read the book. Was that interesting?
That is interesting. I'm waiting for the rest of this though.
So I guess in the book was, I think people were saying the book's kind of racist or whatever because they made out that the ghost was like a Japanese guy. I don't know. That's what I remember from it. Anyway,
Okay.
So do you think this is based on a true story, Jim?
So number one, we can't say that it wasn't because it's hard to verify this kind of thing.
That's not how logic works, Jim.
Let me finish, sir. Because I don't know. I didn't follow the story. I don't know how true what actually happens in the movie is comparatively to what she said. So I get the same feeling as I did with Amityville Horror, where they might have had some weirdness going on, but I don't think it was to the extreme that they showed in the movie.
Well, we all know that Amityville was just a complete hoax used to make money because they couldn't afford their mortgage, right?
Right. And I
Right, a
totally get
complete
that.
hoax.
And they finally admitted to that like 30 years later.
that's
But
that's why, Jim, you should use your critical thinking skills.
I suspend disbelief and watched it as though it was just a movie.
Well, no, if you watch it as just a movie, that's fine.
Yeah, I did
I'm
that,
not saying
and I did.
if
I
you
did.
thought it was based on a true story.
I don't know. I couldn't say. I believe that somebody reported that that's what happened, but there is no way I think that they actually dropped liquid nitrogen on top of a ghost and it was as big as a fucking house. No.
Well, you don't know what a ghost can do, right? So you have to suspend your disbelief about whether it was true or not.
You asked if I believed it was true. You're now going back and saying I have to not
Okay,
believe it's true.
so you think that's the crazy part? So the ghost raping the woman, that might have been more true?
No.
No.
I'm not saying that that was true or not.
Which part do you think was the truest part?
Mark, I am not dissecting this film with you.
Anyway, yeah, it's a real shame that we've talked about this before. Barbara Hershey hates it, and I think that's whenever she walked out of your store or whatever.
Yeah, she did. She walked out and never came back.
I mean, it's a very brave performance. You could say that. I love the soundtrack to the movie. The like the heavy metal.
Yep.
And I think this makes a good companion piece with Demon Seed.
I don't know if that I've seen Demon Seed. I never read the book.
Right, with Julie Christie in it. The movie's. I've never read the book, but the movie's pretty good. Okay. In that kind of 70s, hey, this is a future, robotics sort of thing. But still,
like Coma.
Right.
Yeah. So next on my list is Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. So
sorry, go ahead. I'll let you speak.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's funny because some people might put this on their top 10 extreme movies.
Right, and I can see that. I can completely see that. Yeah, but the reason that I love this movie is I had a coworker that lent me the DVD. Then this is back probably in late like 99, 2000, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somewhere around there. And I watched it and I instantly fell in love because it is schlocky, it is ridiculous, and it is hysterical. So it then and it's disgusting. My favorite part of the whole movie is when the mother swallows the German Shepherd and they pull the pelt out of her throat. It's hysterical. I was both nauseated and hysterically laughing at that scene.
There's so many great bits, like whenever the mom's falling apart when they're having like the dinner, and
yeah,
her ear falling off, and and he's like, "Oh,"
or that pus shoots out of her face into the pudding. It's so gross. But so once I saw it, it became a staple. So anybody that ever came over to my house to, watch movies or celebrate Halloween or whatever, and I had the opportunity, that was their foray into the movies that I like. I made them watch that movie just so I can watch their face and laugh my ass off.
Did you tell them, okay, we're just going to watch this and then you can go?
Nope, never. We would be sitting there just hanging out and they'd go, hey, let's put on a movie. Oh, I got the perfect one.
Was there any barrels in your room?
Nope, no barrels. I did have a stuffed monkey though.
Okay.
No, I didn't really. That was a joke.
He's got to bite.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's probably my favorite Peter Jackson movie.
I would probably have to agree.
I really wish he'd get back into actual horror.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Especially like kind of his early horror, the splattery stuff. But
yeah. So okay, so number 8 on my list, and I have such fond memories of enjoying this movie so much, and I have no idea why. That's the only reason this is on my list, is because I know for a long time I considered this one of my favorite horror movies, and watching it now, I just don't know why. But it is Meg Tilly in the epic One Dark Night.
I have not seen that.
So the whole premise of this movie is Meg Tilly wants to be part of this group of girls.
Right.
And in order for her to become part of this group, they make her go through an initiation, because it takes place, in the 80s where people mistreat people and then it just goes terribly bad, right?
Yeah.
So she goes in, she has to spend a night in a mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
Little do they know that buried in this mausoleum is a man that practiced witchcraft.
Right.
And he is trying to come back to life. So the girls are trying to play tricks on her and scare the crap out of her so she doesn't spend the whole night. and she's trying to just spend the night with her and her boyfriend, and this guy is killing them one by one.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
And
sorry, I actually started this one time, but then I got my ADHD, and I'm like, no, I want to watch something else.
so this movie does exactly what Barbarian did, where it starts off really gritty, and then it just takes a hard left, and it feels like an entirely different movie. So, but it's really, really, it's one of my favorite movies, and I have no idea why. There's no earthly reason that this production should hold any space in my heart, but it does.
You seem to have a lot of nostalgia feels about.
I do. I do.
Maybe at some point in the future, you'll be like, that New York Ripper. Well, this guy, introduced me to it. I didn't like it to begin with. Now I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen, sir. I'm sorry.
All right, what's next on your list?
So next is number 7 is the ever popular Busta Rhymes. I think it was Busta Rhymes boxing movie. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, not fucking Halloween Resurrection.
Yes.
Okay. So
keep in mind, this doesn't mean I like the movies. They just they mean something.
As I mentioned recently on a post, I don't think you like movies.
So the whole reason I like this movie, or the whole reason it means something to me, is I remember when Michael throws Laurie off of the building, right?
Yeah.
And I stood up in the theater and just started yelling, "It's about fucking time!" And my partner at the time is hitting me, going, "Shut up, shut up!" I'm like, "No, he's been hunting the bitch for 25 years." And that just always stuck with me. I have such fond memories of being in that movie theater doing that.
So not so much the movie, but just standing up and doing that.
Yeah, just my elation when she fell off that building has always made this a special movie to me.
Like if I stood up, if I had seen The Meg in the movie theater, and I stood up and said, "This is so bland, I can't stand it anymore," it might make a similar list of mine then.
It might.
Mm-hmm. With Jason Statham.
I do love me some Statham.
Okay, well, that's a weird one.
It is. The next one's getting weirder.
Oh, God.
Well, you like this movie. I already know that.
Okay.
I, however, do not. But it has some very special memories for me, and I will tell you why.
I swear to God, Jim, you are the only person on this planet when doing a list about movies, that mean something to you. Do you hate a lot of them? Like if your list was movies I didn't really like, yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, it would. But there are some movies on, after this movie, I actually genuinely enjoyed the rest of them. I promise.
Okay, but I like this movie. You say
you did. We've had this. We've talked about this movie before.
Okay,
it's the epic crossover event.
Yeah,
Freddy versus Jason.
Right.
So there's 2 reasons that this movie holds a special place in my heart. One, we went on. Oh, what?
One that's really good. Yeah. Next.
No, that is not a reason. I'm sorry. One reason is when we went to see this movie on opening night. My ex and I. We were sitting in there, and this lady is dressed up as a female Freddy Krueger. She's got the gloves on and everything, and she's standing up and talking like she is running some sort of promotion. Oh, everybody, stay seated after the movie because there's going to be something special happening, and blah blah blah. Just weird stuff like that. And we're all just laughing. And at some point, the owner of the theater comes in and says, "You need to sit down and shut up, or you need to go home." And she's like, "Excuse me? I don't understand." He says, "I own the theater, and I know for a fact you are not in any way involved with the production. So you need to sit down and shut up and let these people enjoy the movie, or you're out of here." So that was part of it. That was a little bit of fun before the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And during the penultimate battle, where Freddy and Jason are just going at it whole hog, and Jason is cutting Freddy up, myself and the gentleman sitting behind me decided we hated the movie, and we started quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Sir King Arthur's fight with the Black Knight.
So, okay.
So everything else about this movie is garbage, but those 2 things make me hold a special in my heart.
Please tell me, you are not the sort of person that sits and talks in a movie theater all the time.
Generally, no.
So even a little bit?
No, not usually, no. Usually I'm very quiet and respectful of everybody in the theater, but not that night, because this movie was so bad.
So whether I like a movie or not, if people are talking, they need to shut the fuck up. And I've told them to do it sometimes. Like if you don't like the movie or if you want to go talk to your friend, leave.
So and I get that. I generally am very respectful in a movie, but with the audience that night, me speaking, because we weren't yelling it. We were just talking loud enough for the two of us to hear.
That's not true.
Everybody was like that.
Not unless people weren't sitting directly beside you. Was there anybody like sitting next?
It was a packed house.
Yeah, so yeah, it was not just you and him hearing each other.
We were everybody was screaming and laughing and cutting up. That's how horrible this movie was.
Well, that's obviously a horrible fucking audience. So far, Jim, it seems to be your most memorable or movies that mean the most to you have consisted of nostalgia and things that happened in the movie theater while the movie was playing.
Entirely true for the most part, yeah.
Well, hopefully, next on our list we'll have some better reasoning behind.
Well, the next one is a bit mediocre, so I'm not gonna lie. It's the remake of Fright Night.
I have not seen that.
It's not terrible. I mean, it's not a great film, but it's not terrible. Like it's enjoyable for a an hour and a half watch. It's not anything great, but it's not terrible. But the only reason that it's special to me is because I went with a group of friends and we had such a great time that whole day. It was just like the cherry on the cake. We got to watch.
So you went with a group of friends to a movie theater to watch it?
No, that was the end of the day. First, we went out to lunch. Then we went to a couple of stores in the mall. Then we went to a movie theater.
Oh, Jim, you cracked me up.
Why? What is wrong with that? It's a perfect 80s day.
Movies that mean a lot to me. Well, I had a great lunch with my friends earlier on.
It was just the ice cream on the top of the cake.
Oh, God. You are funny.
I am a funny guy.
You are funny. Okay. I can't wait for the next one, actually. Let's. Is it Breakfast with a Neighbor first?
Wow, sir. Wow. That's terrible.
You're bringing it up. I'm just commenting on it. Okay.
So the next one is a movie that I already know you like. I know you've seen. It is, I think it came out in 1973. What year did The Exorcist come out?
Yeah, I think 70.
Yeah, so it's The Exorcist,
So
obviously.
so please explain yourself why.
So I think I was probably between 7 and 9 years old when I saw this movie for the first time.
Okay.
And my grandmother and my mother had a bet.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
So I have an aunt, and she's just a couple months younger than me, or we're right around the same age. And they wanted to bet who would scream first in the movie.
Okay.
So the two of us sit down and we're watching this film. Like our eyes are glued to the screen because we can't believe we get to watch, because we both loved horror movies at that age. We absolutely adored them, and a lot of them we weren't allowed to watch. So we go to watch it, and we're sitting down, we're watching it, and everything is great up until the scene where she spits the pea soup, and both of us just look at each other, and then we screamed one time. It's the only time we screamed in the entire movie.
And how old were you?
Between 7 and 9, I don't remember exactly.
So you would have had no idea about the lick me.
Yeah, no, none of that made any sense at that point.
Until you were an adult.
Yeah, right. Yeah, until I was in my teens and rewatched the movie, I had no idea what any of that scene meant.
So you like this movie because of nostalgia?
Correct.
Okay.
No. No, that is not the only reason I appreciate this film. It's just why it holds a special place in my heart.
I see.
So the next one is going to be Alien, which you and I both agree is a sci-fi masterpiece.
But not the best in the series.
We can agree to disagree, sir. Because you like more of the action. I'm not. I enjoyed the slow burn, and I think it was almost a perfect movie.
Aliens is a slow burn too.
Aliens is not a slow burn, sir.
When was the first time an actual alien shows up in Aliens?
I don't know. Oh, right in the beginning when the chest burster comes out of her chest.
That's not a real alien.
Doesn't matter. It shows its face in the movie.
When was the first time a real alien, not a dream, shows up in the movie?
When they land on LV-426 and they go exploring the
Right.
cooling towers.
How long into the movie is it?
I have no idea.
It's about the same time as they show the alien in the first Alien movie.
Yes, but
one's a
that
slow burn and one's not.
right, because
So yeah,
that the
explain yourself.
Aliens is more of an action flick than the original movie was. The original movie played more into
There's more action sequences in it,
right.
but for people, I hear people say, oh, there's no suspense in it. There's no
Oh, I don't know. I don't say that. I'm not saying that.
But
I'm not
there is a slow burn aspect to it because again, if you look at the timestamp,
well, I mean, okay, so I didn't I have never sat down and timed it. All I can say is that the feel between the two movies is different. Aliens feels more like a sci-fi action flick than the original Alien.
well, that's just because there's soldiers in it.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the explosions and the gunfights or the flamethrower she carries.
That tends to come along with soldiers.
Oh, okay. But again, they're both great movies. However, we disagree on which one's the better movie.
Okay, so why is Alien got a soft spot in your heart?
So when I was a kid, I would watch this movie every time it would come on TV because we were lucky to have a cable box that had HBO.
Okay.
Um,
was there betting involved in this one, or was it?
I'm sorry.
Was there betting involved about this one when you
no,
were young,
no.
or was
it just all about my grandfather?
Okay, another family member. We've had mom, your grandfather, and your aunt. And
you forgot my grandmother. My grandmother and my mom had the bet.
Oh, your grandmother. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
We're getting through Jim's entire family tree here.
Not quite. So every time we were homesick from school, my grandparents would come over to check on us.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather came over the one time and I was homesick and I was watching Alien.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at the end of the movie when she was getting ready to put herself into the
spacesuit. Oh,
yeah. Sleep. No, not in the spacesuit. When she was about to go to put herself into hypersleep.
The cryo.
Right, but she couldn't because the alien showed up on the thing, so she had to get into the spacesuit.
Right.
So it was that part, and then I don't know, a while later he came over and I was sick again, and I was again watching Alien, and it was the same part. I don't know how he did that. And he looks at me and says, "You just like seeing that woman in her underwear."
Obviously, he did not know you very well at that point.
He did not. You are correct. My 9-year-old self, he did not understand me.
Okay, so another cherished Jim family moment with a horror movie involved.
Right. So the next one I'm going to talk about.
Okay, so please let this be number one.
No, we have two more.
No, I mean the situation that you went out with your family, had a great lunch, went into the movie theater and started talking, and that's why it's your number one.
No, not at all.
All right, number two.
Something you probably wouldn't understand because you didn't grow up here, but on Sunday nights we always had a TV show called The Wonderful World of Disney, and for kids in the United States, it sort of signified the end of the weekend because it came on like 8:00, and then at that point, you're time to go to bed to get ready for school in the morning, right?
Right. So you're depressed at that time,
essentially. So I had the treat of watching this movie starring Richard Major on The Wonderful World of Disney when I was a child, and I absolutely loved it. It's a horror comedy, and it's a family horror comedy because it's made by Disney. It's called Mr. Boogedy.
Would it shock you to say, or for me to tell you, Jim, that I've not seen this movie?
It would not, because we've already discussed it.
Okay, so now we're back into Jim nostalgia land. So what makes this one stand out?
So this one, it is essentially a family comedy with the boogeyman, but it didn't make the boogeyman really scary because it was a Disney movie. So it just, for some reason, I always loved this movie, and I just watched it on Disney Plus the other day because it's just I have such warm feelings when I watch this movie because it reminds me of all the childhood stuff. Like, it reminds me of having summers off and the not having responsibilities or having to pay bills or be an adult.
Oh, the good old days, Jim, right?
Yeah, good old days.
The good old days when you could just sit down with your mom and watch a ghost rape a woman.
She's gonna so not want to hear this episode. She just got caught up last night.
I'm only kidding, Jim. Mom, you're awesome.
So the last movie on my list just happens to be my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what it is? What is it?
New York Ripper.
No,
The Last
it
Shark.
is not your
It
shitty
is
yellow movies.
Jaws.
It is not Jaws.
It is Nightmare on Elm Street.
It is. It is A Nightmare on Elm Street. And this again is nostalgia, Mark. I know you're gonna hate it, but
Which family member were you with at the time?
my mother
Mm,
and my stepbrother.
mm-hmm.
So I came down from to get ready for school one day, and my mother says, "I taped your favorite movie off HBO last night." And I'm thinking to myself,
Did she mean Cinemax?
"No, no, she did not, sir. We were not rich. We could only afford HBO."
I mean Skinemax.
So I start looking through the what was it called, Mark, where you could look up the times and what was on TV?
Oh, the TV guide?
Yeah. I looked into the
Oh,
TV guide and I could not find a single thing that I would consider my favorite movie. So I then start reading the descriptions in the back of the TV guide. Remember that?
well, sort of.
So
We had a similar type of thing, but not this.
so you sort of had to it was like a reference book, right? You saw, okay, this is the name of the movie, and then you flip to the back and there's the description.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked through the list and I said, well, the only thing I could think that I might want to see is A Nightmare on Elm Street because it's a horror movie. And she
Mm.
said, don't worry about it. We'll watch your movie when you get home tonight. So I'm all excited because I'm like, oh, what is it? What is it? What is it? Because you have something to look forward to.
Right.
I get home and I want to watch the movie. And she's like, after dinner, when it gets dark, we'll watch the movie. Until then, go outside and play. Because back in the 80s, that's what we did. We went outside to play until it got dark and dinner was ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I come in, we watch the movie. I don't know what she was expecting me to do during this movie, but it clearly was not what I did because I instantly fell in love with the movie. I I watched it, and by the end of the movie, I was like, I looked at her and I was shaking. I was like, that was awesome.
Well, what did you especially like this above things with ghost rape in it, Jim? I'm interested to
This
delve into your childhood
this
psyche.
did not have ghost rape in it, just so we're clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Just happened to be in a men's shirt and get dragged across the floor and gutted, or
Right.
get dragged across the ceiling and gutted.
Yeah.
There was no ghost rape.
1 star. But no, but what stood out? So it sounds like you and your mom
Honestly,
watched a lot of horror movies as you grew up.
yeah.
Right. So what made this stand out for you?
Honestly, I have to say it was probably because Freddy Krueger was the most terrifying villain I had seen on film. Like the way that he tortured them, and it wasn't physical torture; it was all mental. Like he didn't
It was
necessarily he didn't well he, right he didn't initially physically hurt them. It
Right.
was more about scaring the shit out of them, and then
Terrorized.
eventually and then it would eventually lead into their ultimate demise. Right. And to me, that was probably the scariest thing I could think would ever happen.
Well, it's also got, and I think it's probably very effective as a kid too. The effective hook of you have to go to sleep, right?
Right.
So there's no escaping it.
That's true, but I don't think at 9, 10 years old or however old I was when we first watched this movie, I don't think I got that concept. To me, it was just about what was right in front of me. And when Freddy cut off his fingers in front of Tina, my mother thought I would scream, but I just went, "That is so cool."
So I have a question after you're done.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. And this kind of leads back into what I was saying about my view of movies. And it gets bandied around a lot. Do you find any movie scary?
Not anymore.
Right. I'm a little jealous, I think, of adults who say, "Oh my god, I was so scared by that movie."
I agree. I want a movie to make me feel that way. So the last movie that gave me any kind of feeling even close to it was a movie we talked about earlier today.
Human Centipede 2?
No, The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That movie was intense, and it's so underappreciated. Like you don't ever hear anybody talk about it, but it is so well done. It's atmospheric.
Mm-hmm.
You are legitimately afraid for this person, and that's as an adult. That's what I sort of appreciated too, like about The Exorcist. I appreciate the book a lot more than I do the film because in the film it's sort of straightforward. Yes, she's getting possessed, and the mother has already worked through everything she knows. It's sort of sped up. in the book, it almost leads you to believe that this could be a case of mental illness because you find the Ouija board under her bed. You find, there's books about demons that you find under her bed. So it's sort of like, at least in my opinion, when you read the book, it sort of gives you the impression that it may just all be in her head, but they have to go to this extreme to make her better.
Right. And, I think, yeah, the movie plays it a bit more straight with that.
Yeah.
But at least they still go down the same avenues, right? So, she doesn't think that she's possessed. She takes her to doctors and, she goes through the normal steps. And
Right.
even Karis is like, I'm a psychiatrist too. And, take her to a psychiatrist. What are you talking about?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I like, we've probably talked about this before. I'm diametrically opposed in points of view with him and religious belief.
Right.
But I think he does a great job in balancing some of that out.
Agreed.
In his writings. So even though eventually, good wins,
But that's the same thing I appreciated about The Taking of Deborah Logan. Like through a lot of the movie, you don't know if this is her and her Alzheimer's, or if something external is causing this behavior. Until obviously, everything comes together in the final act of the movie. But through most of it, I was genuinely afraid for the character because she has this mental condition and they already know she has it, and this could just be her deteriorating and doing this to herself. And I think that's what made it such an effective film. The way that it was shot and the quality of the script and the acting, it was just it to me. That was the last movie that made me feel even close to being scared.
So just to talk about this movie a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I've been a big champion of this movie for the longest time. I think there's a twofold horror: the real horror of getting Alzheimer's and getting old and losing your mind, and somebody having to take care of you, and putting them through all that, and that's a lot right there. Plus, the whole mythology, lore, demon stuff. And I really appreciate movies that create a lore that's interesting and compelling and unique. I will say the same thing with like Hereditary. I love the lore in that movie as much as anything else.
I can agree with that. I did really like Hereditary, but a lot of my appreciation for it was in Toni Collette's performance.
Yeah, I mean, she's amazing. She should have won an Oscar for that.
Yeah, that's absolutely a phenomenal performance by that actress. Just like, I hate that I don't know her name, but the actress from The Taking of Deborah Logan.
The daughter.
What's that?
The daughter that's looking after
Deborah Logan, the actress that plays Deborah Logan. My mother was a big soap opera fan when I was growing up, and there was a character named Opal Cortland on One Life to Live, and it's the same actress. So like she's done all the. I'd only ever seen her in the campy schlock that is daytime TV.
That would be a Jill Larson. Jim.
The woman is phenomenal.
But I also really, really like the director-writer Adam Robital. He's a very interesting director. I feel he's kind of gone down the more mainstream route, and he did, a Paranormal Activity movie, which was one of the better sequels. He did Escape Room, which was fun and enjoyable. But I would kind of like to see him go down his own path a little bit more and go kind of back into that more interesting lore-driven type of movie.
Well, as long as they keep it sort of so. Speaking of lore, like The Ritual, when we talked about The Ritual, it did the same building on the lore aspect, and I really appreciated that. It made the actual quote unquote horror of the film, like what they were physically going through, it made it more real because you got to understand the backstory. Does that make sense?
And I shared a link with Jeff. I don't know. It was a YouTube channel called Horror History.
Oh, I think I saw you. I saw that.
Like you should. That was super interesting because it was all about King Payman and where they got, because it was something in mythology, and it really builds into this is what happens in the movie, and this is what happens in the mythology, and they all tie together. Right. And it's like fantastic. I love that sort of stuff.
Did you read the book The Exorcist?
I've read The Exorcist and.
I don't remember, and this could be because it's been so long since I've read the book. Like, where they introduced Pazuzu in the beginning with Father Merrin.
I would Um,
I don't recall that being in the book.
I don't think so.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't misremembering
It might.
because I did appreciate that part of the movie being different.
I got the audiobook a number of years ago that was read by Blatty.
Oh, okay.
And he's so whenever whenever the book first started, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if he's going to be a good narrator because doing Reagan's voice, he's just like this. But after like a chapter, I'm like, he should narrate like all his books. He was fantastic reading it. But I don't remember whenever that element came into it. I think that element is in it, but I'm not sure if it's at the start or if it's a flashback.
Right. And I did appreciate that scene in the movie. Not that I even understood the connection, from when I first saw the movie until I was much older. But I do appreciate that it's sort of like what you said. It's a lore, like
Right.
that demon then begins to hunt her through the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just really like that sort of stuff. So the
Yep,
more
I
the better
agree.
for me. Okay, so we've taken a trip down Jim's memory lane and his movie talking experiences.
Now you have to agree, Mark. This was a much happier list than yours.
Well, I did laugh a lot.
A lot more laughs on this list than we did on your depressing
I did laugh a lot.
Even if it was at my expense, I'm okay with that.
Like I will tell you, like whenever I first came to the U.S., it was a very eye-opening experience. Talking about movie experiences. And I'd already seen The Descent, but I think people from work or whatever wanted to go see it in the movie theater. Went to the movie theater just before the movie started. The entire front row filled up with a bunch of fucking teenagers, and they were yelling and shouting. Like 5 cops came in and, and kicked them out.
See, now that would have made my list.
That's
That
what
would have
I'm.
made my list.
Well,
That
of course.
experience would have made my list.
I remember going to watch Gremlins 2 when I was younger, and somebody did like a really good Gremlins laugh at the start before it began.
Mm-hmm.
Would that make your list?
I don't know. It depends on how good it was.
It was pretty. No, it was pretty spot on. Everybody laughed.
Oh well, then maybe it would have. But that's the other thing too. I really miss the experience of seeing a horror, a movie like these in a movie theater where everybody is engaged and having fun. I
No,
miss that
no.
experience.
The Gremlins thing was fine because it was before the movie started.
Right.
But once the movie starts, everybody shut the fuck up and have some goddamn respect.
Well, right, but you still get the gasps and the jumps and the screams.
Like
When everybody's really engaged.
I could understand if it's like Rocky Horror Picture Show or something like that comes out that it's kind of that's the reason that you're going is for the kind of the audience participation part of it. I get that totally. That would be
So what I'm hearing from you, Mark, is you want a theater going experience where everybody shuts the fuck up,
yeah, correct.
has no reaction whatsoever to the film that's on the screen.
Correct.
God,
Well,
that's
no, not no reaction. If something scares somebody and they go, okay, if it's a comedy and they laugh, fine, but don't sit there and fucking talk to each other.
Well, that's fair. I can see that point of view. But I mean, don't you agree that, like, I don't know, have you been to the movie theater since COVID? To a movie theater since COVID?
Oh yeah, I go all the time.
But do you not disagree that the theater going experience has changed? You don't get that engaged audience anymore.
I don't know what you mean by engaged audience. What do you mean?
Well, because 90% of the time when I go to a theater now, it's either those fucking high school kids in the back row or in the front row, wherever they decide to sit, or there's just dead silence.
So I tend to go. I generally tend to go and watch R-rated movies, so that there's no teenagers. The other ones I go to see are like Marvel movies.
That's not true because I have been getting into rated R movies since I was 12, sir.
No, but in general, right? You're going to have a lot more teenagers in a PG-13 than you are an R-rated.
Not true.
From my experience. That's what happens.
Okay, fair.
So I do that, but Marvel movies. So Marvel movies will have more like you go see the latest Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire.
Right. So, but you don't see people coming in costume.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the reaction, but I'm not fine with people just being belligerent and fucking rude.
Right. So my point is, you don't see people like that. Like with Star Wars, you would see people showing up dressed as a Jedi. You don't see that with the Marvel movies. You don't see somebody come and
I
dress
do.
up as Thor.
I've seen people dressed up as Spider-Man and stuff sitting in the movie theater.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm up north of
Right.
you. Maybe it's just this side of the coast that's no good at movies. Or maybe it's just me and I hate going when there's a crowd.
Right. You go to the Monday 10 o'clock showing, 10 a.m. showing just to
No,
avoid.
I'm usually the Sunday at 3 o'clock.
Okay, so we have talked about our lists, Jim.
We have.
Do you want
What
to
else
talk?
you got for me, Mark?
You want to talk about anything that we've watched recently?
Well, I already talked about the current audiobook I'm listening to, the Cabinet at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay.
Right.
I've heard some really good stuff about this, but I'm going to be honest, I cannot engage. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a tirade here. So for anybody that doesn't know, I am gay. I know
What?
everybody's shocked, right? I have so I don't want to go into a diatribe about representation. However, I will say the material you can find with representation where a gay character is the main character, and I'm specifically speaking about gay men because I haven't really read a whole lot with gay females or transgender or any of that. I'm specifically speaking about gay males.
Mm-hmm.
You do, it's all about sex. Like they're so sexually graphic, it's not enjoyable for me. And this book, The Cabinet at the End of the World, and another series that I'm very excited about because the third book is coming out called White Trash Warlock, which is an urban fantasy kind of book. They treat the relationships like everyday, ordinary relationships. It's
Mm-hmm.
not all about, saying dick or talking about how hard they are and that kind of crap. Because I don't need any of that. I appreciate the relationships. I don't need the sex. You know what I mean? And I really am excited about that portion of The Cabinet at the End of the World. And I'm excited for the third book in the White Trash Warlock series because they treat them just like Halloween. Was it Halloween Kills? Halloween Kills, where they had, Michael Myers' house was rented out to a gay couple, and they're just sitting there getting high and doing whatever they do. It wasn't all about them, prancing around and pretending to be, effeminate and all that. They were just two normal guys who happen to live together, who then go on to try and hunt Michael Myers in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So that means a lot to me, and that's one of the reasons that I appreciate those films or those types of relationships. And I will look for more of Paul Tremblay stuff if this is the way that he treats relationships, or why I think his name is David Slayton, who wrote The White Trash Warlock. Why that's the first audiobook I've ever pre-ordered, was because I'm so excited for the third book in that series.
I just think it's like almost not minorities, especially, but just like stereotyping.
Yeah,
Like
agreed.
stereotyping, especially minority. I mean, it seems like too easy. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like every there are some gay guys that are more effeminate than others, but it's not every gay guy. Yeah, so I just think it's lazy writing, and like if you don't know how to write a character like that because you just think of them as stereotypes, maybe just it's like token, right? You want to have the token person in to say, oh look, I'm being diverse or whatever, or in your words, Jim Wook. Um, but write good characters, and don't make everybody a stereotype.
Right, like it does. I just want a normal, like, okay, so I don't consider myself especially effeminate. I'm just a normal person who happens to be with a man, right? And that's the kind of person I want to read about if I'm going for a book where I do sometimes seek out books with representation. And I just want normal characters that go through their everyday lives that just happen to be gay, happen to be, whatever my mood, whatever the mood is striking me. It's the same reason I don't read romance novels. I don't need the sex. I want the interpersonal relationships, yes, but I don't need to hear about how
Well,
many times they're going to make you climax.
well, yeah, I don't read those either.
Right.
I mean, if you look at maybe even video games now, right? You get The Last of Us Part Two, where Ellie is gay, and it drives the narrative, but it's not done in some sort of salacious way or like, oh, look how funny or weird these people are. They're just two women in a relationship, and
Right. And the other thing about that too is it's not all tits and ass in those games either. Whereas, in most of the online role playing stuff, it's all about, oh, how sexy can we make the female characters?
right.
You
I
know,
highly recommend that game again.
I've not played part two. I'm still in the middle of part one.
Right, Part Two is probably my favorite game. Talking about The Last of Us, Jim. Sorry,
Yeah, when does that show start?
I'm taking you down a rabbit hole here. They did do a teaser trailer.
Oh, I have not seen that yet.
Yep, it looks very good. You hope it doesn't go down like the Walking Dead road.
Or the Resident Evil route, because I'm not gonna lie, I could not get on board with that series at all.
I think this being an HBO rather than a Netflix series almost gives it a little bit more oomph.
Yeah, I agree.
Plus, it's got Pedro Pascal in it, and he's always enjoyable, even if he's in terrible movies.
Agreed. Agreed. The man,
Wonder Woman 1984.
the charisma coming off that man is ridiculous.
To me, he's just very likable as
Yeah.
an actor. So, sorry. Anyway, what were you talking about before I derail this with the last?
I don't know, but I like where you're taking us. So, what else are you excited about, Mark? That you know that's coming out? I mean, because we talked about the new Hellraiser, and
Right.
we're kind of split on that.
I'm cautiously hopeful for that. And I guess that's releasing next week.
I think so. The 8th, right?
Or maybe the weekend. Maybe it's the week.
It's either the 2nd or the 8th, I think.
Oh, it would be next week. It's only Tuesday. I've lost
Yeah.
track of days because of this stupid storm.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Fingers crossed for that one. I don't know. Maybe next time before we do a podcast, I'll sit down and go through like upcoming movies, because unless I happen upon it, I don't really know anything about it.
Oh, you know what? I did just see a trailer. Hang on, I got to look this up. There's a new Naomi Watts movie coming out, and it's not the remake of the French one. It is. Let me see.
Martyrs?
Yeah, no. Where is it? I just watched it. It's a murder mystery. It looked like it's not Goodnight Mommy. Anyway, you continue talking while I look this up.
Okay. I'm just looking up upcoming movies.
Oh, there it is. The Watcher. It's a Netflix movie called The Watcher. That looks good. It's a very intense. Is somebody really watching them, or are they just being paranoid? And it's got some people you wouldn't expect, like Jennifer Coolidge plays kind of a psycho in it.
Is it a series or a movie?
I believe it's a movie.
Okay, then I might.
Because they just released the trailer. Let me find out.
As you're looking that up, Terrifier 2 is coming out. Did you watch Terrifier?
I did.
And what did you think of Terrifier and Art Clown?
So I like Art the Clown. The character is really well done. I had a serious disconnect with the schlockiness of it. I liked where they were trying to get to, but I don't think they quite got there for me.
I have pretty much the same feeling. I do like that character, although I feel like you could start to overplay that character and it just gets annoying.
Yeah.
I do like the sawing somebody in half, which used to be a ancient form of execution.
Yeah.
Because they figured they'd stay alive longer because the blood's still rushing to their head.
Right. So this is Naomi Watts and Bobby Cannavale. They have Mia Farrow's in it, Jennifer Coolidge, Joe Mantello, Richard Kind, Terry Kinney, and I'll read you a quick synopsis. And it appears to be a movie, not a series. So after the Brannick family moves into what is supposed to be a suburban dream home, it quickly becomes a living hell. Ominous letters from someone calling themselves the Watcher are just the beginning as the neighborhood's secrets come spilling out. There's a kooky older woman named Pearl and her brother Jasper who sneak into the house and hide in the dumbwaiter. There's Karen the realtor, an old acquaintance who makes them feel like they don't really belong, and nosy neighbors Mitch and Mo who don't seem to understand property lines. And it's inspired by the story of the Watcher house in New Jersey. Oh, it is a series. I lied.
Oh.
It is a series.
Well,
so you probably watch it. I will, because the trailer looks like it's going to become totally unhinged, and I enjoy those.
Spirit Halloween, the movie, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, that's either going to be really good or really, really terrible. And I haven't decided if I'm going to give it a shot.
And on October 14th, 2020, Evil Ends Tonight.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everybody about this movie. If they're not both dead at the end of this film, it's a waste.
So even by the trailer, How is Laurie supposed to pull her hand away whenever Michael Myers is putting it into the garbage disposal? Because
Oh, she rams him in the face with the back of her head.
but isn't Michael Myers like this unstoppable thing? Sorry.
Well, no, in this he's a human.
If it was any other, no, he's not. If it was any, if it was
Yes,
any,
yes, he
no,
is.
no, he
Yes,
isn't.
yes, 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 yes.
So a human could not survive what he went through and just keep on ticking. Sorry, especially
Well,
when you're 70 years old.
I
Sorry.
did not say it was believable. I said he's
Okay.
supposed to be human in this.
Well, he's supposed to be human, but he's not. Anyway, this is if it's if it's worse than the last one, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I really disliked the artsy fartsy bullshit that they pulled at the end when Karen gets killed.
I don't care
That
about
that
that, honestly.
well, no, I'm just saying it. Number one, it didn't fit tonally with the movie. Number two, when they started going all evil dies tonight and getting into the mob mentality shit, I thought that was garbage also because it was a political statement that didn't need to be in the middle of a movie, a horror movie.
Well, I don't know if that's a political statement. I mean, that is what humans do. It's just it was done so stupidly.
Maybe that's my dissatisfaction with that then because I legitimately hate.
I mean, it's mob mentality, and that's mob mentality. But
Right,
no,
but they
I
didn't
know.
even.
I think there is political overtones as far as like the Trump cult and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
Like, why can't, especially these big budget movies or like well-known movies, why can they not get somebody to fucking write a good script?
Well, because they get so caught up in I have to pump out another movie. Let's try and make it really highbrow, but it really winds up being shit. So I really enjoyed 2018. I thought it was not anything new, but it was a really solid entry into the Halloween canon. This
Well,
one,
I
Halloween
mean, I guess it fits in with the franchise because it's poor. I mean, the Halloween franchise is basically garbage.
Well, so I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the first three films.
Okay, so I agree, but really, when we're talking about the series or the franchise as a whole, people don't really include part three.
Well, of
One
course
is
they don't, but they're
one,
wrong.
one is generally known as a classic, and number two is generally known as a really good follow up. Then it all goes downhill after three. So
Indeed.
Halloween ends and Halloween kills and all it fits in with your Halloween resurrections and the rest of the Rob Zombie Halloween garbage. It's
No,
just
don't even get me started on that bullshit.
a big
Anyway,
garbage.
yeah, Rob Zombie should have stopped at House of a Thousand Corpses. He should never have been given a license to make another film.
No, I like Devil's Rejects, even though on rewatch it's kind of cringier than whenever I first watched it.
As soon as Priscilla Barnes got naked, I was done with that movie.
Well, yeah, as soon as any woman gets naked, you're kind of done with them.
Not true. Not true.
What do you mean? Name me a movie.
I didn't have a problem with whoever the body double for Lynn Shay was, and there's something about Mary.
She doesn't get fully naked in that, does she?
You see giant tatas hanging down to her knees in that movie.
I don't remember. It's been a long time. But those were stunt boobies.
Stunt movies.
They don't count. All right, what the hell were we talking about?
I have no fucking idea.
Oh, we got on to Halloween ends. Yeah, it's not going to end. John Carpenter already said, yeah, Michael Myers can always come back. So if there's money for John Carpenter, he will say, keep on making them if they're garbage. And I'll do what I like to do right now, which is make music. So that's cool. He makes music with his son. So he's like, just write whatever shit you want. I'll get paid and I get to play some music. Cool. And so, I can't blame him.
I am excited for the new Interview with the Vampire series. It looks like it's going to be really well done.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's going to be
no interest.
Right. I enjoyed the movie. Was it 92 or 94 whenever that movie came out. I enjoyed visually. I enjoyed that movie. The storyline kind of sucked, and I'm not a big Anne Rice fan. She's way too verbose for me. But I am looking forward to this because I really do appreciate the sets and the tone that it appears to be taking. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'll stick with Christopher Lee as Dracula. Okay, House of the Dragons. We're on episode 6, I think. It's weird.
7.
Yeah, but no, sorry, the last one was 6, right? We're waiting for the next one, 7.
Oh, I thought 7 already happened because wasn't there like a 10-year time jump?
Yeah, but I thought that was 6. Anyway,
Oh,
6 or
it might
7.
be. I only know from stuff I've read online. I haven't watched any of the series, so
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because they swapped out 2 of the main characters for different actresses. But I don't know if they really needed to. I know there's a 10-year jump, but I feel you could just kind of make those actresses. In fact, one of them kind of looks the same age. It's like weird.
huh.
I don't know why you did that, but you know,
So how did they play though with the new actresses? Were the characters still believable as themselves?
yeah, I mean, I thought they did a good job in, but emulating their counterparts.
Okay.
But it's all about the writing and how they talk. So obviously, it's the same writers, so it's the same type of language. It just seemed weird. They didn't seem to update anybody else. And it's weird to have a 10-year time jump in like Game of Thrones, and I guess that's how the books were written, or the book was written. But it's weird, like because you have scenarios where it's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next, and there's 10 years. Oh, okay. Well, a whole bunch of shit must have happened in between now and then. I don't really know about it.
Right.
I feel they kind of do it because they're all starting to have kids, and they want to get their kids to be a certain age. Like they kind of have their kids just being babies for the series or the book. But
Probably not an unfair assessment.
it's a TV series which I'm still watching, so that probably says something.
Right.
I feel it needs to get a bit more violent though. There's a lot of the political intrigue and backstabbing and stuff, which is Game of Thrones stuff, but I feel it needs to be a little bit more brutal.
Speaking of violent, I am looking forward to what I believe is going to be the last season of Titans. That's a fun show.
Titans,
Yeah,
Teen
so
Titans.
yes, it is Teen Titans,
Oh,
but it's done very edgy and dark. It's a live action show on HBO, and it's very edgy and dark. Like Robin has just become Nightwing.
mm-hmm.
Raven has just discovered the true power that she really does hold. Starfire is fighting with her sister. So instead of Starfire being a young punk, a young 12-year-old or whatever she was, a young teenager, she's a young adult black woman who is phenomenal. I wish I knew the actress's name. She's amazing. And Beast Boy is a more adult version of himself. He's still a little bit of a cut up and a jokester, but he's more of an adult rather than the toilet humor. It's really well done. I really recommend you check it out if you're a fan at all of superhero stuff.
Yeah, I mean DC stuff is I've read a number of DC things, more Marvel, but I
Mhm.
really wish they'd done a live action version of Injustice. The animated one that they did wasn't very good, and I
Right.
think the comic book series was certainly for a number of the runs was just fantastic. It's everything you want in superheroes versus superheroes.
Right.
Have you read Injustice?
No, no, I'm not a comic book guy. I've read a few graphic novels, but probably not anything that would mean anything to you.
Well, I'll just set it up and see if this interests you. At the start of this, the Joker decides he's kind of bored with Batman and him always kind of battling each other to a stalemate. So he decides to go after Superman. And what he actually does is make Superman kill the pregnant Lois Lane and then has a nuke go off in Metropolis.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say in Lois Lane.
Uh,
Okay.
and then that sets up Superman to kind of go like, "Fuck this shit! I've been the nice guy all the time. I'm basically going to say everybody needs to stop fighting with each other, or else I'm going to come in." So he sets up his own team. Batman's like, "No, you're a crazy mad dictator," and he sets up his own team, and they kind of battle it out. So it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that would bore me.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's because I have almost zero interest in superheroes.
Well, they are
I,
fantasy, Jim. I hear you're a fantasy fan.
urban fantasy difference.
Oh, no, they live in different planets sometimes. It's not urban.
No, 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 no. There's a difference. It would be rooted in our now.
Jim,
It would have to do with trolls and fairies and vampires and that kind of stuff.
Jim,
Yes.
bloody hell. Bloody hell.
Bloody hell! I've never heard of it.
I just,
I thought you were just throwing a euphemism at me.
I know, right? I just came across this movie on Shudder. And I didn't know, I've not heard about this movie at all. Didn't know anything about it. Even the synopsis is old bland. I don't even know why I started it. I really enjoyed this movie.
Oh yeah.
It starts off with a guy. He's in a bank. A bank robbery happens.
Okay.
But he decides that he's going to intervene.
Okay.
And he starts killing the bank robbers.
Oh.
They end up charging him for killing some of the bank robbers because he did it in kind of like cold blood. And he gets sent to jail for like for like 10 years. While in jail, he's like, "Fuck this shit! Once I get out, I am gonna go somewhere else in the U.S." So he gets like a spitball. There's a map of the world. It's Finland. So he gets out of jail. Finland. So he gets out of jail and he flies to Finland. Sound interesting yet?
Depends on what he does in Finland. Ray would like it because his family's from Finland.
Yeah. So stuff happens to him in Finland. But what's really good about this movie, it's kind of like a comedy horror, is the main guy is awesome in it. And the way it's portrayed is like he talks to himself as kind of his subconscious, but you know, there's two of him on the screen and he's talking back and forward to each other. And he kind of reminds me of like a mix between Edward Norton and Robert Downey Jr. in looks, but he's super funny, like talking back to himself about like he gets into certain situations and like his like subconscious is like, what the fuck are we gonna do now?
Gotcha. I do enjoy some of that internal dialogue.
Yeah.
So it's on AMC Plus.
Yeah, I think it's on Shudder too. I've never heard of it, but I ended up.
It says one hell of a fairy tale.
I ended up. Oh, well,
that looks like it could be fun after reading it and looking at the cast and all.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot.
Have you partaken of X or Pearl yet?
No. So before we went to see Barbarian, I love the trailer for Pearl. Right.
Yeah.
I love the colors and I just love that actress, whoever she is.
Mia Goth.
Just the way she like looks and is doing things. But never seen X, so I'm like, maybe we need to watch X first. I never saw X originally because it's Ty West. Virtually every Ty West movie, I think, apart from one, I have not liked.
I'm not even sure I would know any of his movies.
So he did like House of the Devil. He did like, they're kind of like arty slow burn-ish ones. He did do one that was like a Jim Jones. What was that one called? I liked that one. Ty West.
The Innkeepers, I did not like. It was boring.
Yeah, exactly. What I did like, I think it was in Europe.
Did you like the remake of VHS?
The remake of VHS?
Yeah, the 2012 version. Wasn't there one before that?
No.
Oh, okay, then my mistake. I've never seen it, as you can tell.
No, he did a segment in it. VHS is
gotcha.
It's
an anthology.
Anthology, yeah.
So he did Your Next. I did enjoy that one.
No, he was an actor in it.
Oh.
Which I enjoyed because he gets killed in it. What is it called? The Sacrament, which is
okay. I've been seeing that when I was just looking at that.
Yeah, it's like a found footage. It's basically just a remake, or not a remake, a retelling of Jim Jones, of the Jim Jones massacre at Jonestown.
Oh, okay.
But that's the one that I like from him.
Okay, let's see.
But I think I will get around to watching X and then Pearl, probably.
I keep hearing really good things about it. I just never seen it.
For what?
I said I keep hearing really good things about it. I've just not seen it yet.
Right, but I heard good things about some of his other movies, and then I watched them like that.
Yeah, the Innkeepers, I got bored, 30 minutes in and had to shut it off. I did give it a shot, though.
Yeah, but if I watch X and I like X, I'll watch Pearl.
So apparently it's a trilogy.
Right, I know.
It would be X, Pearl, and then the new one is Maxine with 3 X's.
X's, yeah. I don't know. He's got a bit of Shyamalan around about him,
I
like there's style over substance or something.
There are two M. Night Shyamalan movies I've enjoyed, and that was The Sixth Sense that everybody loved because I thought it was a really well done movie. And then The Happening, because I firmly believe at one point Mother Nature's going to say "fuck you" and just shake us off like fleas.
The Happening is great, but not for the way he wanted it to be. It is the dumbest fucking movie ever, but it's just so funny. It's like the Wicker Man remake.
Yeah, I thought it was. I enjoyed it anyway, but
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, but probably for different reasons.
probably. But those are the only two of his films that I can honestly say I enjoyed. Like The Village, I was fine until the twist. I was whole hog in until she jumped over that fence and hit the tar, and I'm like, this is so
Did
like
they ever? Did
to
they,
do.
I
They're
I
just
only, I only watched that once. Did they ever? Did they? I think they said in that movie that they'd bought like airspace or something, so like
Yep.
planes wouldn't fly over.
Yep.
Like I don't know if that's the thing.
I know that there is such a thing as restricted airspace.
Right,
I
but that's
don't know that
government
somebody can
control.
just buy it.
Yeah, that's government control. That's not
Right.
like can I?
Right.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
that's what I mean. Like usually when the twist happens, Lady in the Water was just straight garbage. I
Not
didn't
so.
enjoy a thing about that movie. I tried, but I just did not like it at all. I'm trying to think of what else he did that I've seen.
I recently watched Old.
Yeah, I've seen that, and it was okay. It was an interesting premise.
So I think that the idea is a good idea. Just the execution, especially towards the end, was just like
The minute he steps on screen, the minute M. Night Shyamalan steps on screen, the entire movie goes to shit.
oh well, yeah. At least like Hitchcock used to maybe just sometimes just stand in the background, like he didn't have
Right,
to.
and that would have been fine, but no, he takes a pivotal role in this movie.
Shyamalan is like somebody who
He's trying to be a Tarantino.
no, he's like somebody who's had like one success, and then people keep on throwing money at him.
Like Rob Zombie.
He had one success.
Yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses.
That wasn't even a success because they shelved that for years.
Oh, I thought.
Oh, the monsters are coming out, Jim.
I will not be watching that at all. I will vomit. I will drink my own vomit first.
So you're looking forward.
Under no circumstances will I put that on my TV. I will burn my TV if I come home and that's on.
I'm going to watch it. Oh, maybe we should watch it at Spooky.
No.
I'm going to
do not torture me with Sherry Moon.
What do you mean? The upcoming award-winning actress?
She is a garbage actress who's only in films because her husband keeps getting money.
Do you see him? He was on the interwebs saying, "Oh, you know, these people are saying, you know, all this money went to it, and you know, I got this money. I didn't get all this money for it, and that's why it's shit." Like, okay, dude.
No.
You know what? Here's my Rob Zombie hot take. Rob Zombie is somebody who I want to succeed because he is a fellow fan of the genre. I think certainly in a few of his movies, or two at least, he has a good visual eye. I think he can direct well, but he needs to stop fucking writing and let somebody write some movies and try directing those and stop casting his wife.
Right, I agree. Because I'm not gonna. I tried with Sherry Moon. I really did. Like I thought she was great in House of a Thousand Corpses when I first saw it. Then they took her into the other two movies, The Devil's Rejects and whatever that last one was, and she's just obnoxious. Like she could not possibly be any more irritating to be around than in those two movies. Then I tried to give her a shot with Lords of Salem. That movie is such a bore. Mm-hmm. It's boring. Her acting is abysmal, and the story is shit. And I don't want to see her. I have a visceral reaction when I see her on my screen. And seeing the Munsters trailer, I now hate Jeff Daniels because it's straight garbage, and I hate her in that role.
Maybe we should do like we could do a watch along. You could start the movie at the same time I start the movie, and we could do a watch along before Spooky Empire with it.
Are we talking about the Munsters?
Yeah.
We could just record a video podcast if you want.
I did see on Amazon that they have like a watch party.
Yep, they do.
So maybe we can do that at some point in the future too.
Well, but then we still have to record it.
Right. Or else it will be pointless.
I'm thinking maybe we can. So there's a website where you can record a video podcast. So it would take your webcam, my webcam, so they could see our face and our reactions.
Oh no! Whoa! Nobody wants to see my face, Jim.
That is not true, sir. I think people would really enjoy watching you.
Oh God! Then they need to get a life and some glasses.
I didn't say you were attractive, sir. I just said they would enjoy watching you.
Oh, whoa! Now I feel even worse. You saying please? Thanks, Jim.
Hey, if I can be on camera with my wonky eye, you can be on camera, sir.
But anyway, we could still do a watch along without doing a video.
So let's put it to a vote. I will post
like,
this I'm going to post this in our Facebook group.
Okay, but remember, peer pressure will not work for me.
It's not peer pressure. It's about interest.
Okay.
I want to gauge our listeners' engagement and whether or not they would like to see that kind of content.
Right. Just like a watch along commentary.
Right, with our faces.
No, why do our faces have to be involved, Jim?
Because I think it's important to see the expression, because you can hear the tone of my voice, but my face really says it all, because even if I don't say it, you're going to know what I'm thinking.
But then you'll see me flipping the bird at you all the time, which
that's okay. I don't mind
now with impunity.
I mean, I don't mind. I don't get offended. Fingers don't bother me.
Well, obviously. Okay, well, we could talk about that. So anything else you've watched?
Let's see. No, not that I can think of.
Well, I think you have watched something else.
What?
Something which you said that you had opinions on.
What did I say I had opinions on?
It's currently a Netflix.
Oh, Dahmer. Oh my God, I totally forgot. Yes, I have opinions. Have you seen it?
I have watched like the first 3 episodes.
So I'm gonna say this: the series does exactly what Ryan Murphy tries to do and make you feel a certain way about good or bad. It doesn't matter. He just wants to evoke emotion, and he does it with this for me. But it's a visceral reaction, so that I probably will not watch a whole lot of anything he ever does again, because the first 4 episodes are a giant blowjob to Jeffrey Dahmer about how misunderstood he is, how he just wants to be loved, and everybody's always leaving him, and all that typical bullshit, right? There's no deference paid to the victims. You get 1 episode each of how it affected 1 victim's family, 2 victims' families, and Jeffrey Dahmer's family. So I thought it was a disgusting slap in the face to the families of the victims. That's how I feel about Dahmer.
Okay. Here's my 1-word review so far. Boring. Everything about it. The performances, the color palette, the pacing has just bored me.
Mm-hmm. I can see that, but
I don't know if that's on purpose to make it seem more like blasé, or not blasé, but just more. It's not glamorizing it or something. But Evan Peters, who I think is a good actor in what I've seen of him. He must have been told to play, and maybe they're trying to do true to life with Jeffrey Dahmer being.
And they really are. Evan Peters does a great job of embodying everything that I've seen as far as Jeffrey Dahmer goes, like his mannerisms and the way he walks, the way that he talks for the most part. He does a really good job of that.
I just think, as far as talking about glorifying or making killers sympathetic, is just something which happens very, very often in movies and shows, because people are interested in the killer. They're not that interested in the victims.
I will watch a documentary about a murderer if I want to understand the murderer. If you're going to make a series like this and try to sensationalize the killer again, and try to make him understood while totally ignoring how much he butchered the people he butchered and the lives that he affected through his actions. So I think then now you are crossing a line.
But I think, so I watched the episode. I don't know. Again, they were so bland to me. I don't even remember a lot of detail about them. But if we just look at Jeffrey Dahmer, and I'm not obviously somebody who's going to sit here and go, oh, he was missing. But there was something, I was talking to my wife about this. Like, I don't think he set out to hurt people.
It was an escalation.
But he didn't not he didn't set out to hurt people.
Right. His
Unlike some other serial killers who reveled in the pain and suffering,
right. The
he
violence was not what he enjoyed.
he he was mentally fucked up, and he did want to try to keep these people with him, selfishly, obviously. I mean, this is not like but he's a little different than like a Ted Bundy or some BTK or some who really got off on the physical pain. He was like he's like almost like a loser serial killer, right? Because he was alone and he wanted just to have people around him that he could control. Let's not just say for companionship, he wanted to control them. But there is an element to me of it's not sympathy for him, but he's obviously like there's something wrong in his head, but it's not like he could have tortured those people. And I'm not saying not torturing but killing them is good, but I think there's a little bit of a difference.
Well, I do agree. However, if you're going to pay that much deference to the actual serial killer, then you're insulting the families of his victims.
So Jim, have you ever watched the movie or like this sort of show where they spend more time with the victims and the victims' families than the killer?
I have at times, yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I could not.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot or call you out or anything. I'm just.
But that's what you're doing.
Well,
it's okay. It's okay.
Because your criticism is that they're focusing on the killer.
No, it's not that they're focusing. I understand that the series was about him. Yeah. What I don't think they successfully did was pay the due respect to the victims.
And that's why I was asking if you'd seen something where they do, because I'm scratching my head to think take documentaries out of it, but what show or movie really is putting onto the audience the pain and suffering of the victim, and that's first and foremost. Compared,
well, I mean, you can do any of if we're just talking about movies or TV shows, you can do any of the Law and Orders that go into the more human aspect.
Fuck Law and Order.
But no, you asked me for examples.
No,
those are
no. I'm talking about real life. I'm not talking about Law and Order fictional bullshit, even though they steal real life stuff and put it on there. I'm talking about real life killers.
No, I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't.
Right, and because
in general, I don't have this reaction.
Right, but there might be okay, and that's fine. I mean, I would not expect a Netflix series about Jeffrey Dahmer to sit there and try and educate the audience about the harmful effects of his actions. It's going to be more sensational or whatever, or telling his side. It's not going to tell the side of. Well, I haven't watched through the rest of it, but it's going to be more focused on the sensational stuff that he did rather than the effects that he caused. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, and it may be the fact that I'm older and I'm looking at these through different eyes, but I don't.
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I totally agree. I just don't
think it's I don't know what it is about this particular show on Netflix that made me have this reaction. Like, I've watched a million different, obviously I'm exaggerating, different movies about, real serial killers like Ted Bundy, Eileen Wuornos, all of that. And I did not have this visceral reaction, and I don't understand why I am with this one. But it did. This one in particular got to me.
Yeah. I don't know. We're back onto Jim's therapy session. His childhood, his upbringing, his memorable experiences in life.
That's true.
Now we're trying to unlock the issue behind his feelings about this specific show.
And it is. It's this specific show.
If there's any amateur psychiatrists in our audience.
I prefer a professional, please.
Well, would a professional psychiatrist listen to it? Well, they might actually just, as a case study.
To get to our deep-rooted neuroses?
What makes people have cold, dead hearts? Let's listen.
My.
So you will or will not finish it? You want?
I've already finished it.
Oh, you did finish it.
I did. But again, I don't understand. I don't understand my reaction to this show
Did you
at
watch
all.
the Zac Efron Ted Bundy?
I did not.
No, because I'm
No,
sure it's probably the same.
it's entirely possible, but I don't. I did not watch it, so I don't. I don't have an opinion.
I mean,
So here's an interesting point, right? And we talked about this earlier. It may be the fact that I'm gay, and that this was a homosexual serial killer who killed gay men. So maybe that's why I had a different reaction.
Right. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It's the only difference I can think of off the top of my head.
How did the show make you feel?
I think I just went over that in detail.
I'm listening.
Are you though? Are you? Are you just looking for your moment to jump in and make fun of me?
Okay, please, audience, have I ever made fun of Jim? Exactly. They no came back.
I'm gonna. I think I've just found our snippet for a new TikTok video.
Whatever the fuck that.
we were quite popular. This last video I made did not go over as well.
Well, that's your fault. I don't know.
It is.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is. So you finished it. Ratings out of 10?
3.
And that is Jim's rating. So far, I've not, again, it's a series. Subject matter, I mean, growing up, you tend, and again, the point I was going to make is, how do you make a TV show or a movie about a killer that is responsible, as far as how the victims are shown, but make it salacious enough to get an audience? I mean, you have to think like the human experience, going back into history, like you would have public executions and you would have tens of thousands of people showing up to that, right? They want to see that blood. They want to see that because it's different, right? So it's hard, I think. And, it's horror movie fans. And obviously horror movies and real life are, as we've talked about, fact and fiction are different. But, there is the macabre sort of thing, and a lot of people that kind of want to see that sort of stuff, right? And if it wasn't, it would be unmarketable, maybe, because again, it's a money-making business, the movies and everything else. So I almost feel like documentaries are a better format to showcase the victim side of it,
and that's probably not untrue
as far as marketing, at least.
Yeah, that's probably not untrue.
You're welcome.
So what do you have for me?
I think that's it. House of Dragon, Hurricane Preparedness, Bloody Hell. Watched a little bit of the Dahmer.
You have to text me that Danish one you told me about, the
Treatment.
Is that the one with the guy you said was really good looking and well built?
Oh, Adam Chaplin.
That's it. You have to text me that name because the way you describe the movie and not the main character sounds interesting.
Yeah. Adam Chaplin trailer. I will message you that.
Okay. So that's all for us today, folks.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate your time.
And hopefully we'll be here next week, or at least me. Or no, I won't be here, maybe.
And hopefully Mark doesn't record next week from Oz.
Right. Hopefully I won't be underwater fighting alligators.
Oh, that would be so epic. Please have a GoPro.
I should TikTok that.
Yes, you should. That would be fantastic.
All right, my friend, and everybody listening, stay safe, and we will check you on the next one.
We will.